We are back for more cricketing action. It's been a double header on Saturday. Today, for a change, we've got a bit of a relaxed Sunday. Only a single game, but a crucial game for both the teams out there. It's red against yellow. This is Punjab taking on Chennai at the Brabham Stadium in Mumbai. Action shifting from Pune and Navi Mumbai after this hectic Saturday double header. We've also got a new team assembled right here on Cricbuzz Live. Let's give a big welcome to Ajay Jadeja and Parthiv Patel. Gentlemen, quick trend to notice here to celebrate Gujarat's good performance in the tournament. We've got Ahmedabad, Jamnagar and Mandvi represented, Ajay.
Now we've taken care of the entire state of Gujarat, haven't we? East to west to south. It's nice to be with all of us. I mean, both of you. I didn't associate you with Mandvi much, GB. I thought you were a Kolkata boy.
Half from Kutch, half from the other side of the city. So my stomach is very confused.
Wonderful, but nice to see Parthiv.
Yeah, nice to be here. We were in studio still yesterday, but good to be back. That's just trend me and Ajay have been going through. As when Rajasthan won, we wore pink. Now that Gujarat won, we are wearing the same blue. So that's something which we're going to do now.
Well done, Parthiv. But a crucial game for both these teams out there. We saw a few teams who were on a high, like Rajasthan and Gujarat, of course, to start off their campaign. But Chennai desperately need a win. Punjab need to get back on track.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Punjab needs to play a different brand of cricket till today or till last two games. They're playing like Punjab used to play in season. The inconsistency we could see. They got 200 runs. They chased down 200 now in last game. The batting conditions were good, but they could not get those runs. But yeah, you need early wins in a tournament when assembling new team. Like Chennai has a new captain. We're hoping that Jadeja will try and take more lead into the game. But yeah, I think there are a few changes also, so the teams are looking to find that right combination.
We'll talk about the changes shortly, but I think Parthiv hit the nail on the head about Punjab, Ajay. The inconsistency and also the trend in the past. Matches that they had no business winning, like chasing 200 plus, they go and win. And then when they should be having an easy win, they let the 2 points go.
Yeah, and you see that in the teams that they pick, because it's not just inconsistency with the performance with the team, but only 2 games into the tournament, somebody like a young Rajesh Bawa that you'd pick, because you picked him for what? You picked him, he'd come from under 19. There's a future player that you see in there, and if you're going to leave people out in a couple of games in the IPL, especially the young kids, it just tells you they play differently, they're inconsistent in the way they pick their sides as well. And so that's probably why we see them playing inconsistently as well. Because one thing they wanted to change was that. And I was looking at Punjab side, and I personally thought that, this is one of the best sides that have been picked at the auction. But with these couple of changes, I know young people have come in, Jitesh or Weber, I wish them luck, and they might have a great season and turn it around. But from outside, I look at it and, it gives me a feeling that, they're still not sure how they want to go about. And that's the way we'd probably see them play all season.
Yeah, I mean, those are the changes. Part of your reactions to the changes, because, just trying to figure out things. We were wondering whether or not Johnny Bairstow would walk into the side. At the moment, it's still Bhanuka Rajapaksa. They've brought in a wicketkeeper who can bat in the middle order as well, and Vaibhav Arora instead of a spinner, because they have enough options.
Yeah, absolutely. I think technically this looks the right changes where Spain is not in the play so far in this tournament because of the dew and because of the nature of the pitches as well. But yeah, I think Jitesh Sharma is someone who can keep wicket, who can bat in every number. He's been part of the Mumbai Indians side for last 3 years, and I think 2015 to 18 he was part of Mumbai Indians side. So there is a bit of experience behind him. He was left out of Vidarbha side and made a bit of comeback, made an impact this season in domestic season. And so as Vaibhav Arora, I think he was part of Himachal Pradesh, who won Vijay Hazare this year. He made a mark. He made a significant contribution in that victory. I think someone who can win you games, win you tournaments. I think this is the right stage. So I'm happy for youngsters, but agree with what Ajay said. There is inconsistency in picking the side. So hopefully they'll play differently and try and stick to 111 here.
Well, in terms of the opposition, Ajay, we had a long chat yesterday about the leadership. We don't want to get too much into detail in that, whether or not your namesake is sort of enjoying the role as much as he enjoys the game itself. So, are we losing Ravindra Jadeja, the player, when we've got the leader? So we've got a question, I think, from one of our viewers. We'll come back to that, but let's look at the 11 first, Ajay, with the one change that they've got, which is Tushar Deshpande making way for Chris Jordan, because they of course played with 3 overseas. Now they're down to 4. So this again, Chris Jordan coming in lends them a little bit of josh into that 11.
Yeah, certainly josh, a little more pace, a little more experience. I think more international experience. They went in with only 3 overseas players to start with, and there's enough experience in that side. I mean, this side is a settled side. If Dhoni hadn't decided to, pass the baton on, I would have just carried on the same way. It's just because, you've got a new leader, so you might see some things different. But Jordan coming definitely, adds that. And any problems that they've had, at least on this tour, the 19th over bowled by a young man, you have another experienced bowler coming in at that stage. Changes a lot, because what it does is Pretorius and Bravo, who like to bowl right at the end. Jordan is another one who likes to bowl right at the end. Today they're fortunate they're bowling first, but imagine if they were bowling second, you would have these 3 bowling the last 10-12 overs. So there's a lot of experience now that they've added, even with their bowling at the end. So if the ball's dry, you've got Moeen Ali, you've got Ravindra. Enough. There's enough on the paper. On paper, this side looks, perfect. It looks, enough batting, a lot of experience in there. But I mean, if I had to just put it in one line, I think talent is with most teams. But this team probably has the most experience of playing this format of the game, and the calmness that you associate with this game would probably carry on. And I don't think now that, the bad day is gone with that captain, and it won't be an issue again.
Yeah, hopefully. But the one thing that he's done right today to start with is called correctly, Parthiv. Chennai, in case I forgot to mention it, have of course won the toss. It's a no-brainer in a night game. Win the toss, ask the opposition to bat first. Hopefully, they will be bowling with a wet ball when the opposition comes to bowl. So keeping that in mind and being able to chase, I think Parthiv will give Jadeja and company big relief.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something which we heard from Stephen Fleming also. After the game finished, and he said the ground was like Niagara Falls. So you can understand how difficult it was to bowl in those conditions. So and any bowler would agree that bowling with wet ball is not easy. I think probably the most difficult task to do it. But yeah, I think winning the toss is something usually it's not in your hand. But as a captain, once you win the toss in these conditions, when you go back in the dressing, you would definitely see a lot of smiling faces around. If you had lost the toss again, that would have been a different thing. But yeah, I think the tactical change which Ajay spoke about, Chris Jordan, they needed that experience, because up front they had Mukesh Chaudhary and Tushar Deshpande, both uncapped players, both haven't played that much of domestic cricket, so they needed that experience, and that's how they've gone so far in this tournament. Even for that matter, I think since last 4 years they've backed on their experience. Daddy's Army, which the team which we've spoken about. So that's something which probably they've done, and hopefully, as Ajay said, that you can see the balance. They have 5 bowling options. Then they have Dubey. Yes, Dubey had that off day, but bowling in 19th over in those conditions, it was very difficult, isn't it? I mean, he batted really well, so probably they were trying to cash in onto that confidence of his, the way he batted. But yeah, he bowled it in difficult conditions. But all in all, I think this Chennai side looks much more balanced.
Yeah, and we're hoping. We've heard from our man on the ground, Harsh Abogle, who's made the quick transition from this show to being out there in the commentary box. He's just had a little walk around the outfield, and he says they've sprayed a bit of the anti-dew liquid. I'm not sure how effective it is, Ajay, but certainly it's a start. If even that dew factor can be reduced by 20%, it'll make a bit of difference.
Yeah, I'm sure the bowlers would love that. I mean, any bowler or any fielding side, and actually even the fielders. I mean, imagine a cut shot being played to you. You're at point, coming at that pace, and if it's a wet thing, it obviously makes it that much more difficult. So from all point of view, except for the team that is won the toss, would say we were happy. We last time had to face it the other side. Now suddenly it might get better. But overall, I think it's a best thing. I mean, if you can take the dew away, it is impossible to do it, but if you can take it away, why not? It evens out the game much better. It balances the game. You rely more on the skill and the talent of teams rather than just the conditions. I don't know how much these sprays work. It'll be interesting to see. It wasn't around, at least when I was at the ground. So I'm waiting to see whether it really makes a difference or not. Because dew is also something that surprises us. You go to that same ground one day, there's no dew, and the next day you go to the ground and suddenly you see there's so much dew. So it's a natural phenomena, but if it can be controlled by some spray, why not?
Yeah, Pune certainly didn't have much dew. Yeah, go ahead, Parthiv.
Sorry, Gautam. I think just to add to this, I think as a team, if dew is going to be there, you can't control it. So as a team, I'm sure all the teams would be talking about, let's deal with this. Let's not try and make this an excuse. You got to try and find a way how to deal with this. Otherwise, your focus, your planning, everything goes around you, and you forget about the skills which you possess, and that's when you try and surrender yourself to something which you can't control. So as a team, I'm sure the talk would be that let's face it and let's try and deal with this.
Yeah, and I think Punjab, more than anything else, with their batting, will maybe tell themselves, okay, one way to do it is, of course, maybe the bowlers practice a little bit, but for the batsmen, let's put up 20% more runs on the board as an insurance for the dew. A lot of focus on the Punjab batting, certainly, Ajay, today. If we have a look at the playing 11, Mayank Agarwal, Shikhar Dhawan missed out last time around. Liam Livingstone's definitely due for a big one. The only surprise package so far for them has been Bhanuka Rajapaksa, Ajay.
Yeah, he's been a big bonus. I mean, Rajapaksa's had a great tournament to start with. I mean, the first game, he surprised Hasaranga from Sri Lanka as well. Things are not very good in Sri Lanka, but Sri Lankans seem to be doing well here in this tournament. He's one name that you weren't thinking about, you weren't talking about. A lot of people who talk of this game and are around this weren't looking at him. But there's something that Anil Kumble saw in him. He picked him. And then I thought you used him brilliantly as well, at least in that first game. Maybe Johnny Bairstow wasn't around. It was not decision, but from my point of view, the way I'm looking at it, I'm giving credit to Anil there, that he used him pretty well, and he's come out fearless. I mean, we've seen him play for Sri Lanka as well, but here I think it's almost like somebody who had no chance of getting into the IPL. He doesn't fit into the Sri Lankan team very often. His fitness has been doubted. So I think he's looked at this as an opportunity and said, listen, I'm not going to just hang around and try and fit in here. Let me try and do something that opens up people's eyes and opens up my career as well. So, he's had a great start. It's the keeping that I worry a little, because when I see wicket keeping, I mean, Parthiv will talk about it much better. But when you watch that game, when he's wicket keeping, it's almost like if he stops it, he feels, ruk gayi. And if he, so that is something that is a risk that the team is taking. But on the other side, the risk with his batting that you've taken, he's given you dividends. So he's been fabulous. I mean, he's been great to watch as well.
Let's get the wicketkeeper into the discussion. I mean, how much can you hide? I mean, he's not a part-time keeper, but he's not exactly your absolute first choice keeper who'd walk in as a keeper even if he was not contributing runs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Bajabhai said rightly that he's not the wicketkeeper. He doesn't look like a wicketkeeper. When there is a wicketkeeper, you could see that he's been wicketkeeping. But they were trying to fit in that combination. I think Punjab Kings was trying to back Rajangad Bawa so that they could fit in their overseas wicketkeeper. And maybe I think the thinking behind could be that they know if Bhanuka Rajapaksa doesn't do well, or whenever Johnny Bairstow comes in, they have a like-to-like replacement so that their combination doesn't changes. But I think in today's game, Jitesh Sharma is someone who's an out-and-out wicketkeeper. He's been wicket-keeping in Ranji Trophy games for Vidarbha for years now. So today, I'm sure Jitesh Sharma would be keeping. I'll be surprised if Bhanuka Rajapaksa would keep today.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, that's one thing. We were looking at the 11 and we were thinking, is it Bairstow coming in? What's happened with Rajapaksa? But then he's in the 11. But Ajay, I think it's a good point made by Parthiv. I didn't even think about it till right now, that you'd give the gloves to Jitesh Sharma and let Bhanuka be out there somewhere, deep fine leg, deep square leg.
Absolutely. I've got to say, I overlooked it. I mean, when I came here, I wasn't thinking of the other wicket keeper. But, thanks. PP Vidya is with us. So, we get this information from right there because he's been following the team. And I have no doubts. If that's the case and he's done so well as a wicket keeper, he would probably be keeping. That adds another slow fielder outside. That's the only disadvantage that you have because he's not Rajapaksha is not the quickest the fielders around in the field as well. So, but keeping would certainly get better, and you will have another slow fielder in the outfield.
Parthiv, being a brilliant keeper yourself, did you have situations in certain 11s where you had more than one keeper and you were actually in the outfield? And if so, where did you field?
Yes, I did. I think I was keeping for Chennai Super Kings in first 3 years where MS Dhoni was keeping. I think first year I did field it in first 3-4 games, and then he realized that he's better fielder than me. Then I started wicket keeping, and probably the best way is for a wicket keeper to field is short fine leg. I think or whenever there is an off spinner bowling, try and field at short third. When if a left arm spinner is bowling, field at short fine leg. That's where the less number of balls go. So I think that's something which as a keeper you need to understand where are the chances of ball not going.
PP, it could have been that he realized you were a better wicket keeper also.
I don't know about that. I mean, we know how good a wicket keeper MS Dhoni is, but yeah, he was definitely better fielder than me for sure.
Yeah, I think well put, Ajay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure Parthiv will admit himself saying, "Yeah, sure, I was." So let us pay him the compliment because we've seen him.
I mean, glove work wise, you got to go with PP. There is no doubt.
Yeah, I was privileged enough to be there at Trent Bridge during the debut Test match, and it was a breath of fresh air, I can tell you.
It's still fresh in my mind. You do not forget your debut Test match, which I did. I still have that picture in my bedroom. But yeah, I think those are the moments you live for. You play cricket to play Test cricket, and that's something which I feel that honored and I feel blessed that I got that opportunity to play for India.
Quick one, Ajay. Now let's move to someone who so much was talked about before the tournament. Of course, a few bucks were paid for him. Hasn't quite lived up to it. We've seen him in leagues around the world. Liam Livingstone made an impact everywhere with ball and bat. He's just waiting for that moment to fire. Today would be a perfect day because Punjab need a few extra runs on the board.
Yeah, Punjab would love it because, when they picked him, like you said, they paid extra bucks. He's a rare commodity, isn't he? Somebody who bats and can make it into a side pure as a batsman. And normally you would look at a player and say, okay, can he give us, some bowling? But this man can give you off spin and leg spin. I think both departments, he's probably still not been used. His bowling, we still haven't seen enough because they've had enough spinners. With Brar going out, you might see a few more overs from him. So once he starts contributing. On the batting front, I think, around the world when he's playing, he's probably the striker of that team. He bats a little higher up the order. Here he's come at what, 5 or 6? 5. 4, because normally he enjoys batting at 4 around the world. So he hasn't had, and even the 2 games that he's missed out, it's a couple of yards that's made a difference. It's been a deep point. He's been caught out. Now he's very good against pace. Even with spin, he's looked pretty decent. So I'm not, too fluttered that, he hasn't had the best because, it's just been a couple of games. And in those couple of games, he's looked good. He's got out. And it's a matter of that 1 yard, that striking that ball and going over point. Suddenly things change. When you get out, it looks silly. But I think he'll catch up. And in that graphic that you saw that says, against spin, he's, weaker. There is no doubt. Any overseas player who comes, especially from England, Australia, they might be lower, but those graphics will change. I think he's a good player of spin bowling as well. It's not that he struggles against spin bowling. It's not like what Tim David looked like yesterday when Chahal bowled that ball. So those numbers should change, and I have a lot of time for Livingstone.
And just to add to Gautam and Ajay, I think today it could be slightly easier for him because there won't be any wrist spinner in Chennai's armory. So there will be Moeen Ali and Ravindra Jadeja. So where he was playing against KKR, you got to understand that he was facing top quality spinners of Sunil Narayan and Varun Chakravarti, and before that Hasaranga got him. So I think that could be maybe the game which you need to kickstart because he's been paid very highly and he's been ranked very highly as a striker of the team. So in IPL, for Rajasthan, he did not do as well. So sometimes, at this bigger stage, you just need that kickstart inning, and it could be today. If he gets big one, this might be, his season as well.
Yeah, it'll be Sone Pe Sohaga for English fans if they remember what Josh Butler did this weekend. And I think Liam Livingston is in many quarters rated even higher than Josh Butler, who of course we know his class and we know what he's capable of. 3 figures certainly never ruled out for batsmen like that. But we also never rule out all of you. We like your contribution. We like to hear from you. Hashtag Ask Cricbuzz Live. Lots and lots of questions coming in every day. What's our relevant question for today? I think we briefly touched upon it. And let's get in Maurya Abhay. Jadeja, the player, is being diminished because of Jadeja, the captain. This is sort of something we touched on yesterday on our show. How should Dhoni Fleming tackle this issue? Now, remember, MS is a stalwart. He's a genius. He's been around. But technically on paper, not the skipper anymore. So how does one address an issue like this? Because from the outside, we are missing that little spark, Ajay. We are missing the guy at the Panther at point who's carefree, getting these runouts, the batsman who'll come and twirl like that. He seems to have a bit on his mind, so he wants to be the responsible, well-behaved captain.
Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it, GB? I mean, when we look at young players and they're enthusiastic, they're jumping around, and when they become captains, we want them to become a little solid, stable. Somebody like Virat Kohli, for an example. A lot of people thought, Virat Kohli, when you become a captain, you have to behave like a captain. I think Ravindra is probably trying to do that. I think all he could do is, be Ravindra. And because you got to be yourself. You cannot be somebody else. And you try telling Mahendra Singh Dhoni to be Ravindra and be, flamboyant or, be active or do Josh things like Virat Kohli did. That would be unfair to even Virat Kohli. So that's all I can see from this point of view. Too early in the tournament. Yes, I was sad as well, disappointed in the last game, what I saw. But at the end of the day, there is nothing that you got to look at this situation and say, how blessed am I? I'm leading a side. And if I make a mistake or if I need to ask advice, I don't even need to go to the coach outside. There's a man behind that stump. I can go to him anytime. So in the fielding time, while you are fielding, he can carry on doing what he was doing. While batting, I think it's still early. The first game, he had no choice. He had to bat like that. The numbers look different. In the last 4 overs, Dhoni played all those balls. So, he didn't even get time to, kickstart his innings. He hit that 6 off the last ball. So batting is not my worry. I mean, I don't think. I was only a little saddened to see what happened in the last game. But there is nothing you can do. I mean, it's a shadow that is not something that you could, go 10 yards here and get out of it. This shadow is all around the earth, or all around the world. Better skipper in the last few years around the world. So to try and get out of that shadow, I think you're making a mistake. Enjoy being in that shadow. Take the shadow, use the coolness of that shadow, and just go about doing your business. You've got a great side to lead.
Parthiv, like to get you into it as well. I mean, the shadow is one thing, but the other is just that carefree flamboyance that makes Jadeja the player that he is. Go out and express yourself. Is he holding back 20%?
See, absolutely. I think that's Ajay Bhai said it very rightly that you got to be yourself. You are being named captain or being made captain because your cricketing sense, because the way you have played cricket this far. So just go out there. Just because you become captain, nothing changes as far as your batting approach is concerned or your bowling concerned. So I think just go out there and express yourself. And as a cricketer, we always try and tell young players, you got to go out there and express yourself. You are different than someone else. And someone else would be not as like Ravindra or Dhoni or Ruturaj Gaikwad for that matter. So you got to be out. You got to go out there and try and be yourself. And I'm sure with games on, someone who is not kept, you got to understand someone who's not captain the side in junior cricket as well. Because if he had captain in junior cricket or something, then he would have had that idea how it works. But with time and he has the best captain around him, and Even if he makes mistakes, that's fine. I think everyone makes mistakes, and that's not a problem. And that is the reason why Dhoni has passed on the baton. That he understands that captaincy is not easy. He'll make mistake and he'll learn. And after all, they are looking at him for say 5-6 years as CSK's new face or CSK's new captain. Going forward. So just go out there and enjoy yourself.
But we did talk about Chennai not having a wrist spinner. Of course, Moeen Ali, Ravindra Jadeja will be their spin options. But if there is one wrist spinner, in fact, there are two, and they will both be wearing red. One is, of course, Liam Livingstone, part-time. The other, Rahul Chahar, moved from Mumbai. Again, at Mumbai, he seemed to be just that much more lethal. He was almost a go-to bowler. He also will have a little bit of a challenge because while spinners haven't had their own, Ajay, wrist spinners have shown someone like the class of Yuzvendra Chahal.
Yeah, and Yuzvendra Chahal's shown, Rauch has shown, the numbers that you see are phenomenal, for somebody in this season. Normally, you can understand wickets are different, it's spinning, but at the start of the season, you had, some seeming wicket spinners have not had a great opportunity. Chahal's done well, a couple of them have done well. And, Rauch has been a little unfortunate as well because, he started bowling well when Chahal was in that little dip. People saw that, picked him for that World Cup. There he didn't get many opportunities. And then he's been forgotten again. But he's done nothing wrong ever since he's come into that Mumbai side where he was making a big impact. From there, he's carried on doing what he does exceptionally well. Today could be a different challenge because the guys he's bowling against are probably the best side that plays spin. Everyone in that side plays spin pretty well. So he's got his task cut out tonight. But this man likes a little competition. He's a fierce guy. He's got a temperament of a fast bowler. I mean, when you see him, whether it's his hairstyle, whether it's the approach that he has, and if he's in trouble, he's always got a second ring. He starts coming in round the wicket, through the bowler. So he's a maverick. So I expect him to come up with something. But he's done well. But he's got a task cut out tonight. I think those numbers will change tonight.
Yeah, well, we should certainly hope so. He is a character. Quick one to finish with, Parthiv, on Rahul Chahar. While we talk about the fact that he will be bowling second, Punjab are batting first, maybe a little bit more of a challenge, or for a wrist spinner, is that due impact not as much as for a finger spinner?
It's there. Due impact will definitely be there. That's not I don't think it's same for both wrist spinner and the finger spinner both. But what I really liked about Rahul Chahar in last couple of games was he was always attacking. Unlike the other Punjab bowlers, they were trying to bowl on the legs and stuff. If you look at Rahul Chahar's numbers here, see 4 overs 13 where Andre Russell was going bonkers, and that's when he was still attacking him in the stump. He was still trying to get him out. I personally feel that in this format, if your mindset is attacking, if you're trying to get batsmen out, then there are more chances that your economy would be somewhere around, this is outstanding numbers, but then somewhere around 6 to 7. But the mindset, the comeback, I think Ajay Bhai said, for someone like who was rated higher than Yuzvendra Chahal for World Cup and then getting dropped and coming out with the attacking mindset, it just shows the character of the player.
All right, we've got the show almost wrapped up. We've got, of course, our Joy Factor question to come up. While I'm giving you the question, Ajay, you can decide between 183 and 187, your magic numbers. Parthiv, since you don't have a set formula to go to, think of a number for about the next 30 seconds. Meanwhile, I'll let all of you know the Joy Factor question for today. Here it is. This is what you must ponder over. Which incredible cricketing achievement has happened only twice in T20 cricket within 40 days of each other in the summer of 2018? Hint, the two players involved later ended up playing for the same T20 franchise. Same incredible cricketing achievement happened twice in T20 cricket. I think Ajay seems to have got the answer, but hold on to it. We're going to wait for everyone to come and give it to us. #Cricbuzz Live. So instead of giving us the answer, Ajay, 183 or 187? Remember, early wickets already fallen. Mayank Agarwal is back in the hutch. Mukesh Chaudhary has got him.
187. I stick to that number.
I'm going 200.
200, they need it.
Yeah.
Punjab desperately need 200. Maybe Liam Livingstone, maybe Shikhar Dhawan to contribute as well. I'm going to be slightly lowballing on this one. 171 is what I'll go. 171 for Punjab batting first. They've lost an early wicket. I've just reduced about 15 runs because of that. But that's all we have on the show today. Delighted to be joined by Parthiv Patel and Ajay Jadeja. We, of course, will be back later in the mid-show. And, as promised, 10th over Cricbuzz Combox. For now, that's all on Cricbuzz Live.